Hi everyone, and welcome to this video, which is all about the opening paragraph of Shirley Jackson's novella, We've Always Lived in the Castle. In this video, I'm going to give you a really quick tip on analysing this text as a construction, going line by line through the opening paragraph to discuss what we learn, digging deeper into Merricat's point of view and why it's important that this novella has been written from her point of view, and then stepping back out, looking at the bigger picture and the rest of the text and why it's important. If you need a bit of a refresher, feel free to pause the video here to read the opening paragraph again. Now you might be wondering why there's a video that's all about the opening paragraph, and I think Temple puts it really well here in that opening paragraphs teach us who our narrator is, and it also teaches us how to read a text. That is, what can we expect from the rest of the text? In a few lines, and we'll see that this is a very brief opening paragraph, we get a very strong impression of our protagonist, who is very unusual. We also get some nods to some of the major themes in the text as well. And as they put it, it plunges us immediately into a world that will occupy us for the next 150 odd pages. And in retrospect, pretty much gives away the ending. So a hot tip for you when you are analysing text, it's really important that you detach from thinking about the story in the text, particularly if you are in senior VCE, as I expect most of you are. Instead, you need to look at novels as constructions, and you need to be thinking about all the decisions that an author has made to impact the reader's experience. If you walk into a SAC or an exam and you only talk about plot and character, you're really going to limit your ability to perform well in those tasks. Instead, think about things like plot and character as vehicles that are used by an author to communicate meaning. Now, speaking of meaning, let's go through the opening paragraph line by line. Now, we open with a very simple sentence. You could pull some meaning from Mary, Catherine and Blackwood. Yes, she is 18, but she certainly seems a lot younger. And also we learn that her sister is very important. She's actually mentioned 3 times, once indirectly, in this opening paragraph alone. In this next part here, I think this is where the gold of this opening paragraph is. We learn that she is a very magical and surreal and illogical thinker. It is completely unreasonable to think that the length of your fingers could somehow correlate to being a werewolf. I also think it's significant that she wishes she was a werewolf. She believes in magic, and werewolves are a supernatural beast-like creature that is very powerful and has the ability to hurt others. And I think this is really saying a lot about Merricat as a character. This really plunges us into the mind of our illogical and eccentric narrator. And as LitHub puts it really well, as a reader, we either submit to her logic now or give up. In this next section here, we have what Course Hero describes as a younger child's shortlist in terms of what she likes and doesn't like. I think in terms of her dislikes, the fact that she doesn't like washing herself suggests, again, this childlike spirit, and the fact that she's unwashed and doesn't like noise really suggests that she's a bit of a social outcast here. Constance is mentioned again. Richard Plantagenet is also mentioned, and if you Google this, you will find that there are actually quite a few Richard Plantagenets. In my point of view, I think it's Richard III for 2 reasons. One, he was the last king in the line of Plantagenets, and I think the girls are also the last in a line of Blackwoods. There won't be any Blackwoods that carry the name on after them. And also Richard's also rumoured to have poisoned his wife, which I think is significant here. Don't stress too much about this. He's not mentioned in the rest of the play, in the rest of the text. I think he's really only here to show that she is quite odd and eccentric, and also quite intelligent. The fact that she knows who he is and that she knows the proper scientific name for the death cup mushroom, which is Amanita phallides, I think really signposting that she is intelligent despite her childlike voice. Now, the death cup mushroom, very jarring, very ominous for a young person to be mentioning, specifically this early on. Now, love this. We opened with a simple sentence and we are finishing the opening paragraph with a simple sentence again, and it's almost been thrown in by Jackson as an afterthought. It suggests that Merricat is quite detached and quite cold and unfeeling when it comes to the murder of her family. And this is also a clue given to us by Jackson that this opening paragraph has been written by an older Merricat, because we know that Uncle Julian is still alive at the beginning of the text. So this has to have been written after the events of the novella. So what do we learn about Merricat, and digging a little deeper here? As Course Hero puts it, this is an ominous opening told by a strange girl, and she has a very unique narrative style and voice. And this is what you really need to be thinking about in terms of the text as a construction. Merricat has a literal, straightforward, and matter-of-fact way of narrating the text, and Jackson uses simple and direct sentences to communicate this. Merricat has a childlike and quite vulnerable voice. However, this combined with a dark and unnerving tone is very unsettling for the reader. You have this childlike young girl communicating very disturbing content, and I think that really is a great contrast for the author to use to really unsettle us. A lot of students will ask me, is she an unreliable narrator? Now, many academics debate this. I think she could be seen as unreliable because she's very childlike despite her age. Readers might assume that something terrible has happened to her and this has affected her way of seeing the world, and therefore we might not be able to trust everything that she says. The fact that she has an affinity for werewolves and death cup mushrooms may also cause the reader to distrust some of the things that she says. However, I think Lynch puts it really well here, particularly in this second sentence, that I think she's reliable in that she really doesn't lie to us. She seemingly encourages us to yield to this sympathetic magic of Merricat's narration and accept that, her worldview is true and correct, that she's not lying or deceiving or manipulating us. At least that's my point of view. I think she tells it as she sees it, and she's not overly concerned about the murder of her family, therefore it is a bit of an afterthought. Now let's look at the bigger picture now. If you've watched my video on context, you'll know that there is a lot to understand about Jackson and her life, and I think Merricat could certainly be read as the more private side to Jackson. They are both socially outcast, both very intelligent, both very dark in terms of their minds, and they really don't conform to social and gender expectations, particularly when we contrast Merricat and Constance together. Her worldview and her mind and voice, really again keeping in mind that this is a choice. She did not have to narrate the novella from Merricat's point of view, and so why is that significant? Really doing some thinking around that. Some vocab here to help you when you are analysing the text, things like narrative point of view, tone, style, digging into that sentence structure with those simple sentences, looking at word choice, and this notion of foreshadowing as well. Those vocab words combined with evidence is really going to help elevate your analysis. To give you a bit of help here, this is an excerpt of a great essay written by Insight. I recommend you have a read of this. And you can see here that even just looking at the opening paragraph, there is so much there that we can unpack in order to answer an essay question like the one listed on the page. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end. I really hope this was helpful, and stay tuned for more videos. See ya.